Billy Jaffe, Bruins analyst for NESN, and he is delivered by Granite City Electric's GCE Night Train. Electrical contractors, get on board the GCE Night Train. Order your materials to be delivered overnight to the job site the following morning and save time and money. Go to gcenighttrain.com. Billy's in studio.
Yeah.
Almost. Are you plugged in? You ready to go there, pal?
Yeah, I am.
Look at him wearing the 98.5 The Sports Hub sweatshirt.
I know.
What a cute
Company.
It was sitting on the bed. I just grabbed it and went. Looks good though, doesn't
Oh,
it?
it looks spectacular.
Doesn't
on
it?
you.
It's
Look
nice.
at you. Nice
I
and
know.
shaped.
I get paid in sweatshirts.
All right. It's
better than nothing.
the swag
I feel like
around
I'm
here.
at the little kids table, like right here. I'm so low.
The chair is too low.
It is. Anyways, it's okay. I'm
You
going.
could stand up like Pat McAfee.
That's what you want to do. When you cut the sleeves
That's
off
right,
that
that's
bad
right.
boy, you'd be great.
What are you going to do if McAfee starts doing hockey? Because he does a little bit of hockey, but not
He
a
loves
ton,
it, from
does
what
he?
I understand. I don't watch it. I don't listen to it. But I'm told he loves it. A guy.
Yeah,
I
Penguins
work,
fan, isn't he?
Yeah, a guy I work with a lot at NHL Network, Mike Rupp, worked with him a
Okay.
lot and said he loves hockey.
Yeah, he had the uniform on, but he cut the sleeves off the hockey uniform.
Did he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't
You got to stay true to yourself, Billy. It's very important.
It is. Okay.
Very important.
Good stuff.
Not a hardo move at all. Let's before we get into the all the rumors out there and swirling around and everything.
Boy, has it been busy. 24, 48 hours.
Yeah. I want to touch on the Bees a little bit. That finished the other night. It seemed like you didn't have a problem for the most part with the way they played Edmonton.
Except, you're disappointed in the goal that was given up. Now, it is Edmonton, and you've done a beautiful job. 2 games in a row. First Toronto, then Edmonton, back-to-back. I heard you guys referencing it, lost D-zone faceoffs. They lost 61%, if I remember correct, of D-zone faceoffs in that game, and it was a regular amount. As the game went on, it got more and more, and that's concerning, and that's, deficiency. Now, you're seeing the missing of number 37 and even number 46 at times, right?
Yeah.
Between Bergeron and Krejci. However, you would have loved to have won one of those and finished the game off, and that's frustrating. The overtime, okay, I don't want to say it is what it is and not act like it isn't an issue but it's 3-on-3. It's not regular overtime and 5-on-5 come playoffs, but it's part of the extra point you'd love to get. Do I still like 3 of 4 points? Sure. Am I sitting here saying, oh, you got to be happy? No, but I'm being realistic. Now, you're tonight, 7:00, Toronto again. Go out and play your way that you've done the last couple of games, and then you're real happy if you see that.
But now you get to a point where you have the trade deadline coming up, and Bruins have obvious needs, not just in one place, in multiple places. Yeah. Getting a guy who could take faceoffs in his own defensive end would be nice. That's going to be more expensive, but we've spent a lot of time talking about clearing the net in front, a big physical guy to move people out of there, and that seems to be a desperate need for this team.
Well, big physical guy is, yes, but you don't confuse playing the system well too, meaning that you just need a physical guy trying to clear the middle. It's also about rotation. It's about picking up sticks. You can be a small guy. Heck, a couple of games ago, Matt Grizzly played really well up in Toronto, really well, because he was moving his feet and he was picking up and he was boxing out. So I don't disagree, and they've talked about needing physical players, wanting some snarl, whatever the term you want to use is. But it's also about playing the structure, the system well. Can they get a couple of tougher, more physical players? I think if they could find that in the depth market, yeah, they would. Absolutely. And that, in theory, could help, not just in front of the net, but winning wall battles and also getting it on the forecheck, more tenderizing the opponent, John.
What do you think? I'm sorry, one more thing. I apologize. The rumor that's out there, Kevin Weeks had yesterday, of Jake Gensel going to Vancouver, Elias Lindholm going here, and Jake DeBrusk going to Pittsburgh. Do you think that's viable, and would you do that?
I think that there's I think the Bruins and a couple teams, but the Bruins are looking to move some salary, okay? And who are you going to look at? You're going to look at guys like Jake, like Forbert, like Grizz. I'm talking about guys that are UFAs to be. You're probably going to look or consider moving them because they may be easier. You got to make a decision. Are we going to keep our own rentals, so to speak, or are we going to move them? If you're not going to be able to sign Jake, you absolutely have to consider making that move. Now, you guys mentioned, I caught this part of the show, Lindholm has been up and down. He was early on, he was a right wing when he went to Vancouver. Not his natural position. Now, Last couple of games been slotted as the 3C slot right there. I don't know. Are you going to look to sign him, or are you going to wait to see how he performs if you make that deal? There's a lot of layers to this. Would I consider a move? Yeah, John, I would. Absolutely. If you got to look at how many. You're always going to lose a couple of guys to free agency. You're always going to. You're willing to do that, especially based on age and everything. But if there's a guy with value, you have to consider moving that, because if you don't, you're not. Even if you end up not doing it, you have to consider doing it, John. You have to.
Can you just talk about why Vancouver would flip Lindholm? Because they just brought him in from Calgary. They gave up a first rounder and other currency for him. Yeah. So 5 weeks later, they're potentially going to flip him at the deadline?
Mate. Again, what do you believe? This is what do we call it? The silly season, crazy. I mean, this is where and free agency on July 1 is where you can make a lot of mistakes, but that's why you've got to be careful. But why would they move him? One, maybe with signing Pettersson, maybe when they get healthy again, they're missing one or two players, Johnny, RJ. Maybe they say, well, we don't know if he actually fits best at center here. Now, Gensel, they might think is a better scorer for them and would fit them well. By the way, if you don't know who Jake Gensel is, folks, he plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's had a good career there, not just playing with Crosby, but he can play with Crosby. He can really do some wonderful stuff. Not a big guy, but they're not going to be able to re-sign him. So that's why they're looking to move him. They need returns. They need to get younger there. They talked about Kyle Dubas, the GM there, said that exact thing. We need to get younger.
Yeah, if John Henry's running things there now, so you got to get younger and cheaper. That's how it works.
If Vancouver's probably looking at it and saying, all right, well, wait, Lindholm might not fit what we're doing here. Maybe it's the style, the structure, not doing as well. If we feel that we need a more scoring winger, and we're happy with because they got Miller and Pettersson as their centers and their top two centers, then maybe they're saying that's where we fit. Maybe they're looking at Lindholm saying as a 3C. That's really a luxury, but maybe not what we need. Maybe we need more of another big-time scorer on the wing to be able to get, to where we want to go. By the way, they've been scuffling lately.
Yeah.
They were the hottest team around for a long time until the Rangers got the hottest, and now they've been scuffling the last 3 weeks now, 2-3 weeks there.
What was the move yesterday that was most eye-popping to you, or the most game-changing in terms of what it's going to mean for a team?
Wow. I think what Colorado did, they didn't do one, they did two moves. They bring in I'm curious to see what Middlestat does. The kid Casey Middlestat was traded from Buffalo to Colorado. But Colorado also got rid of Ryan Johansson, who just never took off there. Ryan Johansson is a big right shot centerman who had salary retained from the Nashville Predators organization, and had his best years with Nashville, but the last couple Hardy has struggled, and they were able to get rid of him and part of a trade to Philadelphia for another guy, Sean Walker, who is a very mobile right shot defenseman, smart. I wouldn't, he's not like a 50-point guy, but in that system of Colorado, that could give them more depth that they needed there. I think Middlestat should be an upgrade over Ryan Johansson. Now, Middlestat has not played for what you would call a very high-level organization the last couple of years since he's been in the NHL in Buffalo. So you're always cautious about those players who get thrust into a team situation that is expecting big things, right? Now, he's having the best year of his career this year. Maybe he's matured. Maybe he started too soon in the NHL. He may have been rushed a little bit to the NHL by Buffalo coming out of Minnesota. Yeah. So let's see. But I've liked what they've done. I mean, the other thing is, and obviously Noah Hannafin. I mean, Noah Hannafin going to Vegas could be a game. They did it without moving one of their defensemen off the roster. They're still having some issues up front, but if they get fully healthy, and I don't know if Mark Stone's going to come off LTI or not with his injury. I don't know if he's going to, but if he does and he's able to.
And that's how they can afford to do what they're doing right now, is because Mark Stone's on LTIR and will be until the playoffs.
Right. So the look of what Colorado's done and Vegas, I would say those on paper right now seem to be the most significant.
What about Tarasenko move down to Florida? Because I know you've been really high on the Florida Panthers. We've talked about, you think they're probably the team to beat in the East. Yeah. How much better does that make them?
I think if he accepts his role there, I think he'll be, he's a left shot who plays the right side. They're pretty established already on their top 2 right wings. If he can do the old, 13 to 15 minute a game and be still very productive and doesn't, he's a shooter, RJ. If they can get him the puck, I think he could be effective for them. This was a deal that he manufactured from the moment he signed the contract in Ottawa. They gave him a 1-year deal in Ottawa with a no trade clause, which is really almost unheard of. I can't remember, and if there was another, forgive me for not remembering that. But what that did is it basically said that Tarasenko, if he was going to get traded, controlled his destination 100%. 100% where he's going to go. He owns a place or 2 down in Florida, in South Florida. He wanted to go there before, so he manufactured pretty much his deal. Again, this is one of those. I'm not as sold on it perhaps as some others, but if he does the old less is more and accepts that role, it might be good for them. Should be. Because
the Bruins are so cap-strapped.
Yes.
And they need a top 6 forward. They desperately need a top 6 forward, I think. Would you, and you've said no for the last 3 or 4 weeks that I've asked you this, but now that we're up against the trade deadline, I'm going to ask you again. If you could get a top 6 forward, would you trade Linus Ullmark to do it?
Well, so you're just okay. Tough answer, but I'll say this. If you're moving him, and goalie trades are so hard to do in season. I went over a couple of them. They are so hard to do.
And for some reason, people just don't trade for goalies.
Because this is worth talking about for a moment here. Because goalies, people just say, oh, just put him in the net and they'll be fine. No. I mean, like Razor and I have talked about this. I trust his opinion implicitly, but also just in general. Goalies also rely on the system in front of them. Where are the looks? Where are the shots coming from? Where are rebounds usually going to become second shots? What are we looking to do? What are reads in the D zone, handoffs, etc.? It's a lot more complicated than just putting the guy in the net and say, go make saves. The biggest one that we've had years was Ryan Miller years ago from Buffalo to St. Louis, and that didn't go well at all. That for anybody. That now, if I remember correctly, I was looking at this. I think Robin Leonard got traded in season, and it was to Vegas. Darcy Kemper got traded in the offseason, and that worked for Colorado. They got a first rounder for him, but he got traded from Arizona. But he had they really desperately needed somebody in Colorado. But again, that was an off-season deal. So I don't know how much you see him. With regard to moving money for the Bruins, if that becomes the most important thing and you can make a significant move to add somebody up front. Now, there's a good chance if you make that move and you can add somebody, I don't know, if you swap that $5 million for another $5 million, you might be keeping all these other UFAs that you have and you ride it out with them and you see if you can add to it. Again, John, lame answer, but I'd consider it. I would, but I don't love it because if you're still thinking you're doing something in the playoffs, you've been in a tandem, and are you thinking, what if something happens to Swayman? What if something happens? You're now asking either a rookie from Providence or a backup to lead the way for your team. From a position of strength, you're going to a position of question.
And that is, okay, the position of strength.
I know, you think it's a luxury.
I think it's a luxury. I think it's ridiculous to have, if not the backbone, and I've heard it, this is not my words, but other people told me the identity of this team is in the goaltending. They've got this awesome goaltending tandem. To me, that's foolish. So part of your identity is on the bench every game. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it's nice to have, but luxury is the best word to put it. The point that you just made is an excellent one. If you decide that, okay, now we're going to do it, we tried it, but we realized it's silly. Who's going to be the backup?
It's a big question.
And because
it's not just easy to go get another guy. I'm going to use a hypothetical name like Jake Allen even though he's been they've had 3 starters in Montreal. They've kept 3 goalies up all year, but that's a whole nother thing there. You you got to be able to afford him.
Well, afford it is one thing, and it's not just for the emergency scenario. That's a big part of it, but to spell you in a few games down the stretch when you might be needing the wins. The way the Bruins have played and some of the losses that they've taken, you're good. The wins are going to come at much more of a premium this season than they did last season. And you do want the ability to get wins on the nights when your starter isn't going.
Of course.
So
of course, you want a good backup.
That's it. You want a good backup, and you're going to leave yourself with literally
potentially
calling up a guy.
Yeah, I know. And again, I do think the Bruins are going to try to move some money because of just for obvious reasons. Not even though they already have a lot of money available next year because the cap goes up, but also because of expiring contracts. If they can move it now, I mean, it might give them a little cachet here or there, some assets too. I always say this: real easy game sitting here behind the mic or up on the fifth floor, right? Compared to what's going on, but Bruins manager Don Sweeney. He's shrewd. We didn't expect a lot of things to happen over the years that he's been in there, and then he's come through with stuff. And he's got to be working, diligently at trying to make this team better for the now, but also for next year. Also for keeping in mind that they do have cap space available next year. But could they even add to that? I don't know. Could they move some players in? And they have some young prospects that have either played or are in the pipeline a bit. I think they'd also be willing to move one of them because of the way that the Bruins have gotten other kids to help out, and also they've still got a lot of guys in what you would call sweet spots of careers of their NHL careers, and the Bruins love to win, and they're going to continue to try and win at a very high level.
All right. Did we ask him about Joel Edmondson? No.
By the way, okay. I think his contract is at 8. Is at 1.5 or 7.5. So
yeah, I wanted to mention that because Billy texted me right after we talked about that. But there was a report this morning from Darren Drager up in Canada that Joel Edmondson from Washington, left shot D-man, Toronto, Tampa, and Boston are among the clubs circling. And he says as of late last night, the Bruins seem to have the inside track. Billy pointed out to me on text. Montreal, you're right. I did look that up. Montreal retained salary when they dealt him to Washington last year. So his cap hit's only about 1.7 right now.
So if let's say they retain 40 or 50% of his deals, we all know that's a huge part now of trades. Then he becomes let's just call it.
He becomes affordable.
Yeah. And I stink at math, but I can do half of that. So $850,000, right?
Right.
So if that's what you can get the team to do, and teams are retaining money to sweeten the pot for a return. Big, strong, he'd be a depth defenseman with strong. I do think the Bruins will look at whether it's a guy like Edmondson. I do think, going back to what Johnny said earlier, a couple of more physical players. They're going to do, I think, a lot to try to make that happen. That's just my take on looking at him. And if they can get, let's say, a forward like that and a D like that, that will help with the depth of the team.
Be nice to clear guys out from in front of the net, say with 1:20 left in the game when you're leading 1-0, and don't just allow them to
be nice
camp out down there.
I know. I mean, it was McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman. It was 3 of the best in the league, and I'm not saying that makes it okay. I'm with you. But, eventually they're going to get some. You just wish it was. You wish it didn't. You're right.
It wasn't just that moment.
Yeah.
It wasn't
they're missing Lindholm, and he's not.
I know you've seen that. I've heard you say it. It's like it'd be nice to clear that guy out of the slot.
It'd be real nice. By the way, Hampus Lindholm skating, so hopefully soon. Yeah, he's been on the ice a couple times, so hopefully get that soon.
All right,
tonight,
Billy.
Good game, 6:00 pre-7 face-off.
All right, where are you going? What are you gonna do?
Where am I? Bruins actually have morning skate today at TD Garden. So I'm going to go down to TD Garden. They do it a couple times a year and go down there. And then I've got mom and dad coming into town. Going to go to the airport, pick them up.
Nice. Oh, wow.
Look at you.
Busy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I give them a special Uber rate.
That's nice.
Yes.
Thanks for taking the time with us, Billy.
Good to see you, Billy.
Good to see you guys,
all right,
too.
Billy. All right.
Next week, we'll have a lot to talk about again.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Yep. See you guys.
All right. See you, Billy Jaffe there.